right, man. We got Ryan Hemsworth. Hemsworth. I don't even know where to start because we go back a long, long way to the point to where I was seeing your face on the BART. Like you had like an advertise. The BART is like the subway and
Mm,
whatnot. But it got to a point to where unless I was hallucinating, I was seeing your face on the advertisement and life was moving fast, 2013, 14,
yeah,
12. I was like, yo, I know this dude. Like that feeling is just crazy to see success on someone that you know deserves it and someone that has been like an advocate for you from day one. You are
that's crazy. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I mean, I yeah, if you're going back to that point, like for me, like 2012, 2013 is when I started talking to you and Shady Blaze and like, you know, yeah, a bunch of people out there. And that was like for me, I was like in college at that time and I wanted to work with a lot of different people. Like I really wanted to collaborate, but was also pretty just shy and couldn't find a scene as well. Like out from where I'm from, it's more band centric, and I definitely have a lot of love for that world, but I wanted to produce and just couldn't find people that made the kind of stuff I wanted to make. So
yeah,
luckily that was like literally probably still MySpace, end of MySpace, early SoundCloud days. So yeah, I think that's when I should have tried to pull up like our first emails or something because I feel
oh
like
my,
it was
please don't.
yeah, probably around then though.
Nah, I made that mistake of going through my old emails once before, and not only were a lot of the beach trash, but I also was talking to people crazy.
Yeah, same completely. I mean, that's it's a rite of passage, especially for like yeah, if I listen to the stuff I was sending, I feel like I probably immediately like ruined a lot of opportunities, just cold emailing, but also it created a lot of ones too. So you kind of have to just try,
Yeah, I agree with, I'm glad you said that. Cold email. And so rejection, I heard you say you were shy, but rejection wasn't enough to make you just not try. What made you like what gave you the motivation or the fire to keep pushing even though you are shy? And like you said, you would get cold emails because I got rejected crazy from people who I felt like I wouldn't get rejected by. So it's like, what do you
Yeah.
remember in those days?
Yeah, I mean, it is weird to talk about now because it's literally like when I was starting to do that, like 15 years ago, I guess. So it really was like earlier days of doing this kind of collaborating, like online and stuff. So I think generally I was always surprised who would actually like respond and be interested. Um, and like worst case scenario was just like I never got like a flat out no or this is whack or anything like that. It would just be like a generally like a not getting a response basically. So I mean that's pretty fine with me. I can deal with that. Usually. I think initially I was like imagining all the things that they might have been thinking when they listened to it or whatever, but now I'm just like everybody's got busy lives, so something doesn't connect and it doesn't connect and that's all right. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I was around that time like starting university and I was like I wanted to do music in some capacity and I was studying journalism just to like okay, I'll just like write about it if I can't make a career out of making it or something.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, just I'd go to school and even like when I was literally at school, I'd be like making music just on my MacBook and go home and do that, barely kind of like committing to what I was studying and everything, but it was just kind of like a way to make sure my parents are happy and I'm scared too for the future. So it's kind of like, all right, let's just have, something ready if music doesn't work, which I assumed it wouldn't.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was just it's also like for me that was like the easiest way of just outreach was doing like the emailing, messaging people, um, instead of just like going downtown trying to find some kind of opportunity somewhere or a show to play or whatever. I
Mhm.
never played in my city until I was like touring and came back to it basically. So
Same, same. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I can relate to that. You know, we might have started in talent shows, but I went straight to the internet. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
went straight to the internet to see who liked it, who wanted to work, and who do you remember who like some of the first collaborators you had? Because I heard from a bird that the first collaboration was with Shady Blaze. Am I right about that, or am I wrong about that?
I think he might have been, yeah, like one of the first people I work with, honestly, because and I think it was probably the first thing I sent him, maybe. I think it was like the track that he put out, Dreamin', that
Hmm.
had like a Flaming Lips sample. And I remember like at the time Nas was like,
And I
had the
was,
blog, like his blog and everything, and he posted that, and that was like one of the first like, forms of recognition probably that we got. So
uh,
yeah, I think it was Shady Blaze, and then man, yeah, my memory is kind of mixed up a little at that time, but like De Niro Ferrar was one of the first as well, who we made a lot together.
salute.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think too, because at the same time, like I was making this kind of stuff, but through literally like not having people in person to work with as well, I was like, okay, I'm just like making remixes at the same time because that's like my way of
Mm,
imaginarily working with people too,
yeah.
and some of that stuff picked up pretty fast. Like when I was in like my fourth year university, I was like working on my final project and stuff, and then I checked the fader and they posted one of my remixes, and I was like, oh shit. Like I showed everybody in the class. They're like, what? That's why did they post you? Like
Yeah.
and yeah, I feel like from there it just started like just getting more and more. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna put out more and more, like, and it was kind of like constant. Like every couple of weeks, I would just like put something up. It was like
Mm,
still pre-Spotify, so it was easy just to like just you know constantly put out shit and not really have like any questions of like what your rollout plan or anything
right.
like that is,
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like that worked for me is like almost the oversaturation in like 2013,
Okay.
whatever. And that's when I started to get some like show offers and stuff.
Damn. Okay. And it came kind of like that.
Yeah, pretty fast because I like actually didn't graduate because I was like almost there and I got like a show offer to play in Toronto and then like a, a few times in Montreal. And the timing, I just like literally went to play a show instead of like finishing off like some of my last projects. And yeah, it was kind of like I can't believe my mom didn't kill me for that, but
Salute to moms. Salute to
yeah,
keeping it going.
somehow maybe saw the vision
Mhm.
in some way. But yeah, it just from there, like literally this for the summer, I just started, playing shows and then um yeah, I don't know why it definitely just started kind of happening quicker in that way.
That's what's up. Where are you from?
I'm from Halifax, East Coast,
Halifax,
Canada.
East
Yeah.
Coast, Canada. East
Yeah.
side. Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah. Yeah. Far, far from you.
Far, I thought you were gonna say far, far East Coast. Are we so who's some of the Halifax? Do you have any local inspirations music wise? Like growing up, do you remember anyone from around you or around your area making music and you being like, yeah, this is cool. Did anyone make it look cool from your area?
Man, that's the weird thing for me. Like I really just we got a computer when I have two older brothers, so I was like 7 or whatever when we got our first computer. And I feel like from then on I was just like on it every day and eventually just like got obsessed with like discovering stuff on blogs and forums or whatever. So I feel like that was more my route than like because like I didn't really have my friends were just like, played sports or whatever. Like they weren't really musicians in any way. So yeah, I mean to kind of answer your question, like there wasn't a lot of local stuff that really excited me, but there was like so much, in the States and everything that was really like my obsession and kind of probably more motivation to like get out of my city.
I hear that. Yeah, definitely, definitely. The internet and just yeah, American culture is huge for sure. That's interesting. Your story is kind of just like mine's, where it's like just went straight to the internet, the forums, the blogs, and all
Mm,
that, giving you like, okay, I'm doing the right thing, and just the consistency. You said oversaturation, but like,
yeah.
how much do you feel like you were creating back then? And I want to bring it to today. Like, are you still keeping the same type of work ethic today as back then, or how do you see your ethic and work changing from those days till now?
Yeah, yeah. It's I would say definitely I feel as excited about making stuff like today is like probably when I was, 17 or whatever. It's but the method is definitely different, and just time is way different, now. I'm 35, so it's like, yeah, I feel when I was making stuff then, it was like just constantly, like really, I was just like staying up till 3 a.m. or whatever, and then get up and go to school, and listening back to all that, it's like terrible stuff, but you really have to like cut your teeth for like years, I think, especially with production. And I didn't really have like, I feel like that's the part I miss too, is like, producer friends or anything like that. Like I feel like I took longer to learn certain steps because I was just like using really shitty software or trying to do something and not knowing how to get from point A to point B with like, how do I make this like sound like that guitar in that song, but like just really not knowing, but maybe as I look back, like that's probably what helped me find a sound better, is just sort of like you just have to figure out what sounds good to you in whatever way. But yeah, I would say like work ethic is different. I have two kids now. I have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. And so, yeah, that's kind of most of my day, especially summertime. It's like pretty constant, but weirdly, I'm still in the like working late at night
Okay.
till early morning sometimes if I've got the energy, because that's really like my only alone time now, and that's
Yeah.
to consistently sit. Otherwise, like what's most important for me is like still just working from the laptop. Like through the pandemic, I like built out a bit more of a studio for myself and like had hardware and stuff.
Okay.
And I actually just like feel like I liked what I was making less than just like on the laptop with
Mm.
plugins, and like sampling really. Like I was kind of like going away from sampling a little bit, and now I'm kind of like back like half that, half live stuff.
Yeah, what's up with that? Because I went the same way. Like, I feel like towards the end of the 2010s, I got into less sampling in the traditional sense of it. Like, because I
Mhm.
just started sampling myself. Like, I got into hardware, I started playing pianos and started, doing little things and just sampling that. But
Yeah.
now I'm like going back to like sampling. I wonder if that's just like a cultural thing that's happening or that's always happened, maybe. Like the beginning of the whatever decade is heavy sampling, and then towards the end, it's not, but then it goes right back. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. It's interesting.
No, it is interesting, and I'm sure there's a lot of different reasons, but I think part of it probably is just like I think for both of us, timing wise, like it's kind of hitting that like 10-year-ish point where you've been doing something a certain way, more or less, even if you experiment and everything. But I definitely was kind of like, I just have to like, I don't know, try using some like Euro rack synth stuff. And like I was like getting interested in that for a while. It was the pandemic too, so it was kind of like, easy excuse to just like have some other things to obsess over. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just and then outside of that, I think with music, how sampling, the view of it and how it's, treated and copyright and everything now is like definitely there was a point where I mean, especially in rap, like I was hearing like a lot less
Hmm.
sampling, and there was a lot of people that were doing that well, obviously, like especially in like Atlanta and stuff where it's like more synth kind of based.
Yeah,
But
right, right.
obviously like starting with like Beethoven and all that, like
Hmm.
those guys can make that work. But there is this part of me that like always prefers kind of like just the sound of a sample the warp, the artifacts, all of that just sounds kind
Yeah,
of better to my ears, you know?
yeah, I gotta kick in there because that's crazy. Right before you said Zaytoven, when you're talking about the Southern artists and whatnot, like, yeah, JT the Bigger Figure, I always remember him being like, don't sample original beats on.
Hmm.
Like out in the Bay Area, it's always original beats. Growing up, I always heard that. Is this an original beat? Is this original?
True.
It is.
Yeah.
Even with a sample, it's original. Like fuck out of here. But the
Hmm.
original beats were always a thing in the Bay Area, and Zaytoven's from the Bay Area, so it matches. Like the South was always on that shit too. Like if they
Yeah, that's interesting.
sound like the East Coast, like almost like if you're not.
Yeah, I mean, even with like early like Little John stuff that like influenced so much, like
Hmm.
yeah, there is kind of like these two worlds that exist in that part of like the music history, but I don't know. Yeah, it really I understand too from, just creating from the ground up, like your own sound, like with your hands. But I think yeah, sampling is always kind of overlooked in a way. Like it's definitely I don't know. And coming from my side too, like I also really enjoyed like the DJ world, electronic world, which
Right.
samples in, a different but the same way pretty much. So it's
Mhm.
just cool to see how, I don't know, if you can like meld these worlds, that's what's most interesting to me.
Quick side, little mission. So, who are some of your electronic heroes? Like, who is someone like if you wanted me to really get to know how you grew up and what you listened to in that world? Because, like, I'm rap. Like, I grew up like maybe
Mhm.
Moby was on TV. Like, I don't really have nothing to
Yeah.
tell you. Like,
Yeah, totally.
like,
Um, I want to say the stuff that really like blew my mind in like probably like late middle school and high school were like Aphex Twin. He was like, someone that like always made weird stuff, but somehow crossed over into like a mainstream level, but never compromised or made anything, different. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think like, this- did you ever listen to the Avalanches? They did a song with Danny Brown a few years ago,
I've
but
seen that name, but no, no, never.
yeah, I think
Last name.
it's kind of random. I think they're Australian, but they have an album, it's like early 2000s, and it's like completely 100% samples. Like,
Mhm.
and I think I read that it took them like a year to like clear it
They
was like
cleared that shit.
thousands of
That's
samples.
crazy.
Yeah, on it.
They cleared that shit.
Yeah, I would recommend listening to that album. It's like early 2000s, but yeah, there's just a bunch of random stuff like that, and then definitely, I got really into like Daft Punk and like that French scene early again 2000s late 90s. Um yeah, all the way up to yeah, once I was starting to make stuff just the people I was around, there's like Cashmere Cat and like all these different producers like more from Europe and stuff. So it's just cool to see like in that same way different scenes create their own sound and have their like kind of integral figures that influence everybody else around them.
Okay. You said early 2000s. I kind of have a fixation on 2001. Can you tell me anything about that year in music?
I was I would have been 11. I'm trying to think. I mean,
Yeah, you're kind of young.
yeah, what would that be like grade 6 or something like that. I think I mean I just said it, but I think I literally was really into Daft Punk at that age because I was using Winamp, and I had
Yeah, yeah,
Napster probably, or
yep.
maybe Kazaa at that time.
Yeah.
So that's like just downloading like the lowest quality like Daft Punk and like
Man, you from
there
early.
was like did you ever hear like the hamster dance song? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was I didn't really and I was into that, but also yeah, like I said, I had two older brothers and
Mm.
they didn't have like a huge collection or anything, but they had Green Day, Dookie, um, Radiohead, OK Computer,
Okay.
and Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy. So there's like a few, those are 90s, but like they were just there. So that's when I was finding those albums. And those were like brand new and like really different to me. So I would say, yeah, it was kind of interesting. I don't know. it's good having older brothers probably because
Yeah,
I could and older cousins too. That I found a lot of stuff.
that's crazy. Okay.
Mm.
Well, so a lot of the 90s trickling down, the newer stuff that was coming out early 2000s, 90s trickling down is kind of like what you were on in '01.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I was probably not yet, but we got like a CD burner when I was in like grade seven.
Yeah,
So that's when I started making my own, mixed CDs and stuff and using the Walkman. It's crazy how that sounds ancient now,
yeah,
but
all this sounds so crazy, but you were young, like just
yeah.
imagine being 11 years old, 12 or 10, and
Hmm.
like doing this stuff. But yeah, we are getting old. I'm just a year younger than you, so it's like, yeah, my seventh grade, eighth grade was like, yeah, the CD burning time, and yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, it was jumping between probably playing PS1, Crash Bandicoot or something, and then,
times.
you know,
Yeah,
listening to whatever.
music was different. Like Radio Disney was cracking back then. I remember I used to listen to it, and like
Yeah,
that's how I know the hamster dance and all that. But, like
of
music,
course.
electronic was on top, I would say, like which is crazy because I think if I remember correctly, it was like heavy rock hits, and then it started towards the 2000s. Like yeah, electronic started really like being able to become hits. Like because I feel like 2002, 2003 was when like Where's Your Head At and shit like that
Oh
started
yeah,
becoming
yeah.
mainstream hits and shit like that.
Hmm.
Even
Yeah,
though
that one, a few of those like that definitely crossed over, and I feel like that plus the pop music
Yeah,
started to like,
yeah.
integrate more.
Mm,
Even like I feel like when Britney Spears started to like stop being like, like the younger girl image and same with like Christina Aguilera and all that. Like
yeah,
there was like that
that was the year
crossover.
when they got nasty.
Yeah, when they started working with all the kind of more electronic leaning sounds, that
Mhm.
was
True.
probably a turning point.
Kylie Minogue was breaking through with the
Oh
come.
man, yeah.
Like, yeah,
That was like cool to me at the time, but actually like a few years ago, going back to that Fever Kylie Minogue album, I was like, this is the best.
that's one of the best.
Now
Like,
it's like a top 10 for me.
I ain't gonna lie, yeah, yeah, that's a hard to beat album. I just listened to
Yeah.
that maybe a year back or so, like that. Like that's like one of the greatest albums type shit. Like, no,
Yeah.
she
Because
did,
that could have just been a really good electronic album, but
yeah.
like
Hmm.
yeah, that's definitely one that's funny you said that, yeah.
Nah, that's facts. That's facts because that's a part of why I love 2001 so much, just because it was like all the sounds at their peak before it really, and then it's like, yeah, you bringing up Napster, the industry was going into something entirely different. So it was like the last time you could see like big albums and
Hmm.
well, the best last time you could see big albums and this, that, because it was still going in 2002 and shit like that. But like it was slowly turning into a whole new world. Like you said, Lil Jon was breaking through, like 2001 was still pre Lil Jon. So it's like
Yeah.
different. Anyway, I want to move
No,
on.
it's true because no, 'cause now I'm thinking like then I was like going into grade 8 and I remember like school dances and stuff. That's when like Usher Hey Yeah
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
Outcast Hey Ya and all that was coming out at that time. So it was like such a good transitional
Right.
period. Yeah.
Right. It was different.
Yeah.
It was like, and you still had people wanting to be futuristic because I remember Y2K was a thing. Like people were scared of the year
True.
2000.
Yeah.
So like it still was reflecting through the music and shit like that. And it was before 9/11, or most of the
Hmm.
shit that came out was before 9/11. So you still had a wholesome, like, it was just a weird pocket in time that I really cherish because all the music, like any artist you think of, they probably had a fire album in '01. Like even
Hmm.
the trash, like they probably had some fire in '01 if they had.
Yeah, there's certain years you're right that are like same with movies and stuff where it's just like
Mhm.
something was different.
Something was in the water at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Something interesting that I wanted to go back on. It sounded like you were saying that you kind of like lo-fied your sound over the time. Like you went to hardware and then you went back to computer. I guess computer is hi-fi compared to a lot of other things, but
No, but what you're saying is right because like lo-fiing it on purpose, that's
Mhm.
something that I've had to kind of relearn in a way. Or like,
That
I was thinking about that earlier. Like when you start, some people are just like amazing when they start, and I feel like I was like super naive with a lot of my choices with making music or producing or whatever. And so like there's sort of like uh a lo-fi quality that you can't control yet, because
Mhm.
it's literally just, you're making what you're making. I was making stuff on GarageBand when that started, stuff started happening for me. So now I feel like at a certain point when you're producing, like you really pick up so much and you know how to articulate what you want to make and you know how to
Mhm.
get to that from point A to point B, that it almost can like, I don't know, either get boring to you or you're creating stuff that might be boring to other people in a way. So I've definitely I feel like I hit a point where I was like, I need to, and that was probably part of that, like going too much into like hardware and trying to be, I don't know, doing stuff that I'm not like super good at. Like honestly, even just playing keys, I've always just like drawn my MIDI in or whatever, you know, um, I mess around, but then I always kind of have to like fix it after and, in production. So I think that was important for me to be like, there's just, something special in like not overthinking every choice that you're making and every sound and getting like spending like, hours or whatever on EQing every little layer or whatever. And one thing I started to do a lot more again was just making everything on laptop speakers.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, not again, like I think the mixing became for me like it's been interesting because even when after a while when I started working with you guys, like there was a point where I was just like mixing your stuff sometimes too,
Yep.
which was I don't know, like I didn't even feel like I was very good at doing it, but
Better than
I
me.
mean, yeah, no, that's the thing. Like sometimes you just need somebody else. You need a different set of ears, and that can make a difference for sure.
Mhm.
But I think I started like doing that a bit separately from my own production or whatever. And then it's I don't know, there's a certain point of like almost obsessing over getting something sounding really good and where that intersects with like how it should actually just sound, like sometimes something doesn't need to sound really clean or really like perfect in the car or whatever, like
Yeah.
sometimes it needs to sound kind of fucked up or whatever. So I think that's something I've had to sort of like relearn just through like the past few years again, kind of.
Crazy. Cause yeah, I always in my head preached aiming to upgrade your sound, but it doesn't mean that that still counts as upgrading your sound. Like, cause your sound is your sound.
Hmm.
The goal doesn't have to be, it needs to be the most pristine mix ever. The goal should just be it needs to sound the way you want it to sound.
The
So
way the song should sound, right? Like I think it's really following where the song is supposed to go.
following the song, yeah.
Yeah, I think so because it's like there is something that kind of annoys me too, and now like especially with streaming, taking over and everything, it's like there's definitely an obsession of like remastering,
Yeah.
making things better. Like
Mm,
I also just like end up on YouTube a lot, like, and I'll just like go down a rabbit hole of like these tricks to,
mhm.
fix the kick and blah, 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 like all these things, and you're like, it's an obsession with like a better sound,
All right.
cleaner sound or whatever. It's almost like going in this like kind of like it reminds me of like an equivalent of like capitalism where like things need to go bigger and you need to like do better and make more money or whatever. And
Mhm.
there's something weird with how like music is marketed, especially now with like streaming, where it's like, okay, we're gonna remaster this album that came out 20 years ago, or sometimes not even that long ago, and change the way it sounds, like how it should sound now. And it's like, I don't know why the mixing world has ended up in that direction where it's like, no, it needs to sound kind of shitty. Like
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
sauce in that that
right.
you can lose easily. So I don't know. It's
That's
it's interesting to me.
yeah, it's almost like classes too. Like, well, capitalism, how you're saying, like, I don't know if classes is the word, but it's like, yeah, where yeah, if it sounds a bit muddy or if it sounds a bit this or that, it needs to like, yeah, why is that a bad thing? Like, and I think that was like the thing with my older group with main attractions and shit was just like, um, Yeah, there was, like you said, there was a magic in not knowing. There was a magic in not knowing how to, for me to get from A to B. And like
Yeah.
whatever experiment that I was doing to get from A to B that was displaying live, like people loved that more than
Mm.
being at B. And like, 'cause, I don't know.
Yeah, there's I think there's kind of like this invisible personality sometimes with like how, something is mixed or presented to people in that way. And I think it can be overlooked because it's like if you're looking at stuff through metrics or social media, you kind of assume you have to do what that person's doing, which is like super clean, super hi-fi, whatever. I think I was thinking about that lately too, because I found this random dude popped up on YouTube that was like using AI mastering to like all the titles were like making this Red Hot Chili Peppers song better or making this Metallica song better.
Yeah.
And so much of it is just like it's it was a good song because of how they made it. Like you can't use this new technology just to like make it a better song. Like,
All suggestive. It's all like not suggestive. What's the word? Subjective. It's all
Yeah,
subjective. Like it's your that's the beauty too. Like who knows? Maybe someone out there thinks that that YouTuber made a better mix of the Red Hot Chili Pepper and it changes their life. Like
it's true. I mean, if you listen on headphones to something like that and it's like, oh, it's wider, there's more bass now. Like
hmm
if you're like, almost dinosaur part of your brain is like, sounds better.
right.
Anything louder sounds better, but I don't know. I think it's an interesting time where people feel, I don't know, they can kind of like tamper with anything in that way. So it
hmm
could be interesting the next few years where people might go more in that opposite direction, I think, to kind of retaliate.
Because you don't understand, like, if there was stems back when I started, like my whole sound and my whole
Mm.
style was created off of not having the stems, like off
Yeah,
of
same.
finding, yeah, I bet it's like same for like a lot of people. Like it's literally the everything about my style is because of my limitations. So now that the limitations are gone, it's like people get to see the real me and they
Hmm.
don't know what to think. Like I feel like when my music was a little choppier, when my music was like just like even the samples, like my samples, I can only sample really, I like sampling like 2 seconds. Like if
Yeah.
even that, just like up to 2 seconds. Like my shit's super choppy. But once I found out how to make my shit not super choppy, it like changed everything. And I'm not like saying that's a big change in my shit, but at the same time, like it's just is what it is. Like my whole style was from limitations. Now I don't have any limitations. It's like sky's the limit. And
Hmm.
a whole new product, really.
Is that ever scary in any way? Or like
I mean,
sometimes I find a lack of limitations is almost like too much of a blank slate, but I'm curious
you're
how you
right,
feel.
right. I mean, I'll look at. I hope Riz is watching this because Riz is one of my favorite producers, and it was
Mhm.
always crazy how people are like, be like, "Oh, he learned how to make music and it ruined him," or this,
Right.
that. So it's interesting for me to not particularly walk in those shoes, but like to experience that within myself of like learning how to do more. And you mentioned earlier, like you got on keys, like I got on keys too. Like I always looked at it as like, why would you want just one style? Why
Yeah.
would you want to just be one thing? How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about having like one style or like one? Did you ever want to like diversify your talents for the sake of diversifying your talents? Or like, do you feel like it matters? It doesn't matter? Because it could be like a business thing too. Like, when I look at it as far as like business, it's like, no, people like me for one thing. So why the freak would I go do 30 other things when they like this? Like, I'm curious of
That's probably one of the hardest things to grapple with when you've been like making music for a while, you know? I think there just more doors open up and I mean when I started like even before when we were talking about I was just playing guitar and like playing guitar and like singing and like I'd use like a drum loop or whatever and then I started getting into more like producing for vocalists, like rappers, singers, R&B stuff, and then like doing electronic. And then now like in the last like definitely in the last 5 or so years I've gone back to playing guitar more and like I did a project like kind of at the beginning of the pandemic called Quarter Life Crisis, and I just worked with like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
singers from like bands and stuff, and put it out on Saddle Creek, who've done like a bunch of like emo bands and stuff over the years, and
Fuck
so
yeah.
that was like a big like really wanting to do that for a long time, and kind of like I was saying, like not knowing how, like literally how to make it sound good or like in the authentic way that I want it to, still with like drum loops or whatever. But so
Mhm.
that can be kind of a hairy like in between sound, for me. Like sometimes like guitar and electronic stuff is like not a good mix. It can be a little cheesy when it's done in certain ways, but
Okay.
when people do it right, it's like really, yeah, it definitely hits for me. Um, so yeah, like that's been for me, that's been important to like to try a lot of different stuff, but I definitely also like a lot of artists that just do one sound and they do it really well, you
Right.
know? So
Hmm.
I think that's an important part of your journey is definitely just like kind of figuring out what that lane is for you.
You really answered that in a way where you answered it. It's kind of so like today you're pretty much open.
hmm
Yeah.
For me, definitely. I mean, that's been the what I do. And like if I play shows, I DJ, and like that's I didn't grow up wanting to DJ, but that just sort of like happened because I had to start playing, I got offers for shows and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll just
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that is a thing that's been big for me, and like making like mixes as well, which was through the 2010s was like a big thing, just for like radio and for sites and stuff. But a lot of people that I think anything that has worked for me is like having that diverse kind of like thing to offer to people, because some people only like the mixes that I make and don't like my albums, or some people
Mhm.
only like stuff I've produced for like Tinashe and don't like anything else. So
You know how
I feel
crazy
like,
that is to say that, man? Like, damn.
but no, it's for me, like as a listener, I understand it because there's certain stuff from certain artists that I only like this or that.
Mhm.
So I think if you're being realistic with what you create and everything, it's easy to understand that, and just at the same time not like pandering one direction or another,
Yeah,
just making whatever feels right, and hopefully the right people will find it.
kind of, yeah. You talked about going back to your laptop speakers. I wondered, or I'm curious on if you have, well, I see you have headphones on right now. Do you have like any lucky pair of headphones or anything that you always use? You use something essential to your process as far as headphones? Do you like using headphones? I see you got some on now, but
Yeah, I just got these in the last few months because I was using the Audio Technica ones that most people I think have. I got those on Amazon for like 200, like probably 8 years ago, and
okay.
they're falling apart. So I finally upgraded. I'm definitely not. I've never really had like good speakers or, you know, a really good studio or anything like that. I've just sort of the laptop and like plugins are like the most essential stuff for me, really.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the Audio Technicas right now. My man, Ira gave me a little insight on these. These are crazy. DT77s. You got the DT77s on right now?
They might be. I don't even know actually.
Yeah, we got
Yeah, DT70. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, I got the feds in here. Got the feds in here. We
Yeah,
on
that's a good ID.
we on it. Um I kind of got lost a little bit, but thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, there's let me think of where to start. Let me think of where to start. Um, yeah, here's a good one. Since you're back into sampling, what's inspiring you to keep searching for new sounds? Like, are there movies that I'll put it in my way. Like, for one of
Mhm.
these albums that I started with Dream Beach, which I heard you have some sort of connection with Dream Beach. The
Yeah, yeah,
album,
I've known him for a while.
yeah, yeah. Speak on that real quick, because that's the next producer of my next album, man.
Oh, sick. Yeah, I mean, yeah, outside of kind of doing my own stuff, I started like a label in like 2015.
Hmm.
Um, and initially that was like, I mean, just when streaming was starting. So I was like it was mainly like SoundCloud. Um, yeah, just anybody that I found, I would kind of put on. And I think like tw a few years later, maybe he was sending me stuff first, and it was always like, this is sick. And then I looked him up and I realized he was like a drummer of a huge band and all that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's certain people from Detroit that I connected with around that time, and I still talk to a lot, which is not the case for a lot of different, producers or people I've met over the years. Yeah, I don't know. I've just known him for a while, and he is just a genuine dude for sure. Like he really, I knew he was a fan of you, and main attractions way before I think you guys even started working. So that's awesome that you guys ended up working.
Yeah, we locked it in, and yeah, during the recording sessions for him, I found myself watching a lot of I don't know if these were movies from the 60s or 40s, but they're black and white, and I was finding a lot of sounds in there where I was like, "Oh, that's where this is from." Like I've heard in a bunch of beats and a bunch of things like,
Hmm.
"Oh," and it really inspired me to like start producing and start rapping on a lot of his stuff and have like a frame of mind where I want to go lyrically. So I'm wondering today if there's anything that's inspiring what you're searching for sounds for, what you're looking at and
Yeah. No,
Sam.
that's awesome. I come and go from movie sampling and whether it's soundtracks or just like, you know, dialogue or just sound effects. I do that a lot from, random stuff. I've pulled a lot of stuff from like David Lynch movies or like short films that just have like weird, sound design that
Mhm.
again, it's the sampling, like you can pull stuff from Splice or whatever, but there is just something about like sampling from places that just have like again stuff that's out of your control in the mix, like weird stuff happening in the right side that you might not notice until you compress it, and then it jumps out, and you're like, whoa, that sounds crazy.
Mhm.
So I do find like the beautiful accident stuff that happens from sampling is like why I just can never stop doing that, you know? It's like I feel like when you sample you've got like a collaborator there with you in a way because you're just like, it's easy to like open a project and be like, I don't know what to do right now, I want to make something, but I have no ideas or something. So it's always like an easy way to just like throw something in there and find a direction to go. So lately, I would say, for whatever reason, I just find it really interesting to be I definitely like grew up in like high school and stuff getting more into like emo music and like a lot of like 90s bands with like kind of shittier recordings in that way as well. So now it's like I still use SoulSeek,
Nice.
and that's the source of everything I have that I sample or is on my laptop, because
Yeah,
otherwise it's like a lot of the shit just doesn't exist, especially on, Spotify and stuff. So
I'm definitely
I've
on.
ended up, yeah, I've ended up, a lot of that is like, I'll find some bands that just have some like weird sounds, or like the ending of a song is just like the way the guitar part ends and it goes like reverse or something. And like, I think
Mm,
like the track that I produced for your project, was in a similar way. Like I just found like the end of this like weird, Midwest emo band song and just like looped it that part. Um, so yeah, that's it's kind of working in like an archaic way a little bit, but I think it's becoming less and less common. So maybe in a
it's
way it's almost, yeah, like full circle. I don't know.
yeah. That's what I was wondering earlier. I'm like, I wonder if this is just like every decade it's like that. Like it just goes back, just
I think so.
just back around, just reverses back around, just reverses back around.
Yeah, and just putting like your upgraded sound on it in whatever way, you're kind of through the lens of 2025 or whatever.
Can't believe it's 25 right now. Still feels like 22 or 23.
Mhm.
Are you
For sure.
organized? Do you feel like you're organized?
In life?
No, music, music.
Yeah, I was gonna say
No,
I was
no, it
gonna
would
say
be a few
no.
hours.
Maybe with music a little bit. Except my it became like chaotic for me in the last like year because I kept everything on Dropbox and then like it I don't know why like I had like too many things in my sample folder so then it all started storing in the cloud so like every sample I was using was like not in the project.
Oh
So
no.
I've literally gone back to like when I started I would just pull everything from iTunes into the project like when
Okay.
I was like 2010 or whatever.
For
And
Ableton
I
though.
am
Or
I was using Logic. I still do.
okay, nice.
Um,
I didn't ask that. That's my fault.
so now I just literally from my SoulSeek downloads folder just
Yeah.
pull sample. It's like
Hell
I
yeah.
feel like if like, a 17-year-old was like producer was watching me produce, they'd probably just be laughing at me. But
Like that's what you nah, the youngins today probably are so next level. Like
yeah.
so much shit that you could do and so much shit. Whereas for me, it's like I'm stuck in my ways a little bit where it's like I know what works. And if I want to
Yep.
experiment, I will, but otherwise I know what works, so I'll do my simple shit. Like
Yeah, and that comes with age too. It's just, I think there's definitely a lot of trends that people start following when they begin and then you find your own way over time.
are you so you brought up Dropbox. Are you a fan of hard drives, like the physical thing, or like are you strictly cloud?
That's a good question. We're getting nerdy now.
Yeah, yeah, we're almost we run out of time, so like yeah, let's
No,
get
it's all
to
good.
the
Yeah, I mean, I have like 6 external hard drives next to me that are from the last like 15 years. So as
yeah.
long as I yeah have that, I can like kind of pull from whatever, and it's been nice because I can like rediscover stuff that I totally forgot about from my iTunes from like 20
Oh,
or 2009 or whatever. Yeah.
jealous as fuck. You just like really just flexed on my life. Like you're like what I could be. Damn
I,
it.
I mean, I've lost a lot of stuff too. There's been stuff that people have asked for or trying to put out a project again, and I just don't
Ain't
have,
got it.
or you can't open the project. That's kind of the biggest thing that I found too.
For
Like
real?
the plugins don't work
Oh, right,
anymore
right, right.
or
Yeah.
whatever, it's just dead.
You've always been with Logic?
Yeah, yeah, I was like GarageBand like in high school and then
Mhm.
Logic just I don't know why it just was the closest kind of interface. And I've learned Ableton. I can use it if I'm like with somebody who uses it, but I don't know. You just stick with what you know in a way. And
Yeah.
but everybody ever has tried to convert me to Ableton or whatever, Pro Tools but yeah, I don't know.
It's all right. It's all right. I got converted to Ableton kind of young, but it is what
It
it
is better. I can say it's just better for producing, but there's just
produces. It's crazy. I just recorded my vocals in it and like mixed
mhm.
it, but like I'm still FL.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
FL I feel like is probably one of the hardest to change from too. It feels like if you started with FL, you're probably always using it.
I went from Reason to yeah, Reason to FL or
Mhm.
GarageBand Reason FL. Just stuck with FL.
Yeah.
I guess something like the last question. How do you feel about spending money on your craft? I heard you say that you brought up some money already. You talked about your headphones and stuff. Were you heavy into investing younger, or do you try to get everything for free? What's your way of doing it?
Man, I'm definitely pro torrent. You know, I feel like there's certain yeah, it's a hard balance. Like I've bought a lot of guitars over the years. There's like stuff that I feel like you can't quite replace, even though plugins have been amazing, like virtual like soft synths and stuff like that. But there's a lot of plugins that's like, especially in like the Waves universal audio world, that's like thousands of dollars, and you're like, come on, like, you know, it's just not it's not realistic. So I grew up torrenting honestly, so it's kind of a hard thing to shake when it's right there.
Hmm. Yeah, I never really got good at learning that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm 50-50. If I could find it, I'll do it. But otherwise, yeah, I just spend the money on it or stick with what.
Yeah. If it's something that like, especially if I use it on a song comes out, people like it or whatever, then I'm like, okay, this is, I should probably support because it actually helped me do something, you know.
No
But it
judgment on
took me a
that.
while, it took me years to even buy Logic, honestly. So
Nice, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, same though. Yeah, I just bought Fruity Loops like a few years ago after all these
Mhm.
times using it.
Yeah, that's a sign of growing up, I guess.
Maturing, maturing. So don't feel bad out there. Take your time with it. You'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll do it. Don't rush.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. We got to wrap up pretty soon. If there's anything else you want to tell the people who's watching this, it's been a very informative, entertaining conversation between us. But if there's anything you want to leave the people on a last note, it's all you.
No, yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's just good to talk again. I know we talked a few years ago on my radio show, and
Yeah.
kind of the only way we have longer interactions now is through
Mm.
podcasts or whatever. But yeah, it's always good to catch up. And I feel like yeah, you've had a really important music history already yourself. So I feel like I hope people listen and yeah, check out everything you're putting out now too.
Thank you. We're here to build. We're always doing the same thing as far as like putting our best foot forward. So us being in contact is everything because it's only going up from here. It's only going up.
Can I ask you if we have time?
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious, like what, I don't know, it's hard not to make this a general question, but with like the Bay Area, I don't know, what's like special about making the music, the musicians, the art that comes from there, like why is it different? I think about when I was definitely like, starting to get into like rap and then like finding, I don't know, like E40 and like a lot of that stuff. It's just like there's no comparison, there's no parallel, with certain sounds of just like for me, I think there's like always a bit of a sense of humor or like a lightness to like, but
Right.
not taking it seriously at the same time. I'm
Mhm.
curious how you feel about, I don't know.
Man, it's like different areas in the world got their own different things. So like with Oakland, I think well one is the history. I don't know where the history started, but even like I guess Sly and the Family Stone, like it's always been like a musical history here. So me growing up out here, it was just like it's everywhere you turn. People do it. People love music, the music culture. I think it's kind of hard for me to pinpoint it because I think it's just something that goes way back to
Yeah.
where generations grow up and it's already happening. So like it's easy to get into it, kind of like gangs and shit like that. Like if there's already gangs and shit out there where you're from, it's really easy to just be like, oh, I'm a gangbanger. All right,
Yeah.
I'm with them. I'm with them. Like for me growing up, it was just like music is something that everyone did or we
Hmm.
listened to. And I always wanted to do it regardless. It wasn't like the local shit that like inspired me. I always just wanted to be an artist. My mom and my dad did it in some way. So I always wanted to do it, but it was easy to do it out here because like there were always open mics. There were always just like it was encouraged out here. So I think the encouragement of it is not so much that today, unfortunately, but when I
Yeah.
was growing up, there were like free studios. Like we were going to kind of like this I don't want to call it a homeless shelter, but it was kind of like a place where kids can go after school if they needed something. They built two studios in there. It was called the Cub House. So even just having that in high school, a free place to go and record, like that's different. Like where do they do that? Like I feel like it's just kind of like a thing where like in New York, like a bunch of them do that type shit. So it's easy to be out there and just be like, oh, I'm a rap, I'm a this, that. I'd imagine it's like easy
Yeah.
to or model or whatever people do out in, New York and their thing. But out here it's just like, yeah, it's just the culture. Like it could be the environment. We got palm trees. It's beautiful out here. You got a whole mix of different people. You got
Hmm.
a Latino, you got a big black, you got a big white Asian. Like you got all these melting pots. So it's probably just like the results of that type of living under the sun mostly. It's the weather's good. Like I think it is environmental too, which is like, we just having a good time, feeling good out here, California.
Yeah, I think you're right. Definitely environment is a kind of understated factor for sure. I think especially with like shows that I've played out there, it was probably like early on for me like the most like diverse shows and like people just like dancing the most compared to if I played in Boston or
Yeah, yeah.
Toronto or wherever. So, yeah, that's cool.
Melting pot of cultures out here, and I think the cultures that are the melting pot have a lot of music and dancing in their history. So
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, I think it's just like the people out here and probably just the weather, really. Like, I don't know. It's just the weather. That's
Hmm.
my best one. It's the weather. We got good weather out here.
Yeah. Whether in the
Sing and
food is,
dance. Good food, good weather. Like, you want to sing and dance.
yeah, it's true.
I'm in Poppy Collar. Hey, hey. So good.
Yeah. Makes sense.
We used to have good pills. We had good weed. Like,
Mm.
California, like it is what it is.
Yeah. It adds up.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
I do got to wrap it up, unfortunately. I do feel like we can have a part two, though, because we had a lot of things that I didn't touch on, and I feel like we got a lot of history that we could still talk about. But yeah,
Definitely.
it's just to put the first step in the ground, you know what I mean? The first footprint in the sand.
For sure. Yeah. I appreciate you talking to me.
Of course. Well, Ryan, it was fun. Ryan Hemsworth, look him up, love it, live it. We appreciate you coming out, and we'll do this again very soon.
All right. Thank you, man.
Salute, salute, keep rocking.